everyone, welcome back to Champions of the Fog. Reloaded back in for trial number 1 of Hysteric versus Meadow. It's going to be an artist match on the Stuffo Pit, and I just realized that some of these survivor names are just literally letters. So I hope it's not bulletin points, because I did not bring my notepad and pen. So as said, folks, a very tight, oh my goodness, this is an insanely tight corrupt area. Not to mention, not only is it a tight corrupt, this is a 4-gen. This is a tight 4-gen. Oh my word. A main building actually is a crazy corrupt. However, we do see a totem already being found out. Trevor is already taking place in the back of main building. And we'll see what the strat is here. This is going to be something difficult to tackle. And you also maybe don't want to go down back here. Artist is actually cutting them off a little bit. Going to be breaking through the side, and wow, they're actually doing this really, really well. They're not even in chase right now, as chase hasn't started, so they're able to window or shift tech this as much as they want. Not able to get a hit off either. This is a very rough start for the artist, even though the survivors have a rough condition to meet. And I think, did they just now start chase? No, I still don't think they're in chase. Now using the balance line to get even more distance. Oh my word. They're playing this so well, but now they will be in chase for the first time. Really good job. I'm wondering how much this Survivor 1v1s is. They did a really good job just shift teching the heck out of this loop, denying as much as possible. Again, we don't hear the chase music for some reason. Not really sure what's going on there, but regardless, that will be a tag. But we see that, look at the generator progress. I think this might even be 3 separate gens. We see Fang getting off of the gen at one of these, and it looks like they're even coming around for a body block potentially, and they're not going to end up using it, as that will be a down. Gen 1 going down. We even see a Gen 2 in the back, so that was 2 gens firing for this chase. Ace doing a really good job getting a good start for their team, as even if this is a pain residence, it's not going to do anything, as Ruin has regressed any other gen being touched. However, this hook is still on the main building side, which is where their 4-gen is. Okay, the hill, okay, that gen in the back is a little bit further away than I had first anticipated, but it's still a really good setup for this arsenal done. It's right next to this choke point that you get a hold with this hook. This is going to be tough for the survivors to fight back on, but the survivors have had a really good first bit of the game. Early game has gone in their favor, so they still have stuff going their way for the moment. Nancy gonna be, they're thinking about it. They're like, hey, I got a tone back here, and they're not gonna do anything about it. Seemingly not interested, and missing a skill check after they get off that generator. Again, any skill checks, any time they get off the generator is gonna be regressed by Ruin, so Ruin's pretty good for the killer. I wouldn't be surprised if they just do the, I'm surprised they're not gonna do the totem. I guess they just really want to crank some gen progress back over here. And Nancy looking to possibly keep the artist honest and rotate in for the unhook if they leave. Our second stage will be secured here, as they're really wanting to get these gens worked on in the meantime. They have some crows to harass. Actually, does Artis want, with the way this is set up, is Artis actually going to try and camp second stage here? Camping second stage would actually be such a choice. Okay. What's the strat here then? Camp to second stage and then camp to death. This is your gen setup. Any gens that can be worked on are going to be a little bit tough. Ruin is still up there, choosing not to deal with Ruin. They're just going to have to work through it. And then Nancy's going to come out here, try to force the killer to make a decision on their tunnel. This is an interesting choice. I'm really curious what the shot call is here. Now, obviously, Bodybox going to come in. They're going to try and hold this up, and that will end up being a hook trade coming in from Nancy. And their gen that whole time is going to be regressive. But that means that the hill gen in the back has actually been less harassed than theirs. That might have been the call. However, Ace in a lot of trouble here. Not able to get rid of those crows. I think they might be going down here depending on the shotgun blast. Actually avoided altogether, and you've even got a hit 10 coming in, a gen already popping in the back that was being worked on by Fung. Kate able to take chase, take aggression here for Ace. This actually could be working in their favor. I think they were trying to set up a 4 of the people there, but weren't able to get it. Now just able to take a hit tank instead. However, they have to be careful around there, and Dire Crows will be applied to both these survivors. Hands coming in to spread it out. Here comes the shotgun. That will be a down under the pallet. Or are they going to play aggressively for the pickup, or are they not? Oh, they even actually end up hitting Feng Min and Nancy in the distance. Yeah, and Kate's going to be playing super aggressive, but they might actually be caught out. Yeah, they do go down here, which I think they'll go for this hook, as this could be a pain resonance. Nancy going right back to the gen in the back. And imagine Feng Min going to be rotating immediately. Yeah, they were the four people players. This is not going to end. They actually could get the pickup here onto Ace. Drop the pallets. I say, oh, bang! I would have dropped that pallet because, yep, lining up the shot, and that is going to be, yeah, Ace going down, and Feng even took a hit there. That was rough. I'm surprised they didn't try and stun there to make the killer have to wait launching those crows, but again, maybe a bit of hindsight 2020, maybe a bit of panic. Hard to say in the moment, but that is going to be Ace sent back to the campfire. And we'll have to see how the Survivors go. Again, Survivor's not in a horrible position, but they, let's say the Artist is going right back to that generator and not finding a Survivor. I'm beginning to wonder if maybe Ruin was the cleanse instead of not, but we'll have to see how it shakes out in the end. It's hard to say. All survivors are injured, which makes this a lot more of a nasty chase. Actually, yeah, with all the survivors being injured, this is actually not a great spot for them to be in. They have to take time to reset, because if you get one person down slugged, it's going to start doing a Doom loop, and you want to avoid that at all costs here. Nancy is able to actually get away, and based on that reset, Artist should know that there is no one over there working on the gen. We even see the people in the middle of the map coming into the choke point. Nancy has a loop going back further into mid and getting to the other side of the map. That's exactly what they need to do. They need to get chased across this area. They actually get to the long wall, doing a really good job. We see some kind of notification in the back. And if they commit to this, they could actually go and restart Nancy's gen and double it. I think they should single it, but I think they could even double it, and it's not even that bad of a choice on their part, just because it gets that regen broken up. That will be Nancy going down before they can make it to this pallet. See the gen in the distance starting to regress, as I think that was Feng Min that was on it. No, it was Kate, which means Feng Min would rotate back for that generator, and they're happy to take this, as this is going to represent a fresh pain res potentially if there's one in the area. And, yeah, I would say Feng Min's only about halfway on this jet, and despite the fact Survivors had a phenomenal early game, and even their mid game wasn't too bad, a little bit of mistakes just a moment ago, and they're kind of actually in a bit of a situation now. Ruin is still up, gens are regressing. I would say you can kind of afford to camp this just a little bit, as Ruin is still up. No, they're not going to camp it at all. They're actually going to go and push the Survivor completely off the generator. Not able to get the tag, though, and they will be hanging out around main building. Unhook not quite coming in yet, just now. Artist setting up 2 separate locations to try and get the Survivor to run through. But if they called it correctly, I'm about to say I think it might be a little too late, as Feng is already well past that point. Yeah, I say they were holding that check spot at the corner and say, all right, they just now left. They wouldn't expect you to go through here, and getting the distance they need. Survivors do need to finish at least one more gen on the other side of the map so that they can afford to be 4K1 territory instead of 4K2. 4K2 is definitely infinitely harder to hold down for Artists. 4K1 is a good result, but not out of the realm of possibility, especially given the gen setup that the Survivors have to work through at the moment. Actually, 2 Survivors are here, which means they are probably working on the gen significantly towards Shaq's side. Artist now just trying to get some extra stages for pain res, some extra freshes. Pushed away Dispelling the Crows, and that will be a tag. I say Nancy and Feng seem to be rotating, trying to ensure that they get this gen, at least someone's working out at any given time. But I imagine we might be seeing Kate finish that gen momentarily, and they're actually going to go back to this after they found Nancy. Will this result in a tag? No. Actually, Nancy didn't even go that direction. They actually doubled back. Harassing the crows on the other side of the map. Does double up onto Kate and Fung. Imagine they're gonna be committing to that gen. Careful though, that might be a tag. Nope, they actually are able to spell at the last possible moment as Nancy is taking chase. These are the final 3 gens. They have to figure out one to complete, and this is regressing, which means Nancy does need to leave here at some point. Yeah, but I say Nancy needs to get out of dodge. What's unfortunate too is that Ace was the balanced landing player, which is one of the ideal players you want to have situated back here, as they can, you know, actually utilize the BL, but unfortunately not going to be the case, and they do get the reset onto Fung. Nancy still trying to make their way back towards the other side of the map. That's what's going to happen at this point, is you're going to rotate, take a hit, rotate, take a hit, rotate. And we're probably going to get to a slugfest here, is actually Nancy taking a pro to the face. They have to be careful. They can't go down too close here with agitation. They'll be able to make it to this at the map. They do take crows, but it's only going to be warm, not going to be a down. And if this is not a down here in a second, I think they have to break off and go back to the other side. However, they are zoned. There is a pallet here, but I don't think they're going to get there in time. Yeah, but I say that is going to be a hit through the pallet. However, Ruin does go down. I was going to say, I am shocked it took them this long to get rid of Ruin, but it goes down. That is what you're going to, like, that is what you need now. Any and all progress, you have to let the gen regression events start to add up and just take your lumps. Again, I know that some teams want to make sure that they're not having to deal with an eruption, because eruption oftentimes is worse than Ruin in some scenarios, but obviously survivors probably identified that the killer has agitation. We saw corrupt and we saw pain res and Ruin, so they know that there is no eruption in play. And so now avoiding the doom loop for now is a second that is a survivor that is on death hook, and we'll have to see how they play this out. Is going to leave. I imagine killer not going to bother kick. Maybe they're going to see if they can get a tag the crow for opting to break it, and that is going to be the dire crow swarm hitting. Shotgun coming in. Do they get the tag? No, they're holding back, and that is going to be a great dodge for Fung. Still holding main building. That makes me think that they might be on the more centralized gen at the moment. I'm doing a really good job making this chase last and making it meaningful. There'll be a tag, however, that might be a 2-tap. Fung going into the corner, getting as far away as possible. Yep, they are doubling that gen. That's exactly what I was expecting them to do. And now it's just Fung's job to waste as much time as humanly possible, going to the corner, and they know what's happening, but it's going to be too little too late as we see that final progress come in, and they're saying no. Oh, adrenaline coming in, actually. That's going to be that much more time wasted for the artist, which means the survivors get that much more distance away, and that is going to still be a fresh hook onto Fung, but able to get some distance also. My goodness, that is a phase. That is a cosmetic. Oh my word, that is terrifying. And it looks like the exit gate is almost done. Kate will be harassed with the crows, but they're going to be committing to that exit gate. There it is. It's open. Getting a tag onto Kate as well. However, there comes the unhook. Fang immediately trying to walk to the other side. It looks like they want to try and get some stages out here still from Fung. However, body block's not going to work here. They need to get the other exit gate, but actually they do take a tag. Body block's coming in. Oh, they might actually be getting this survivor out with only one stage to give. Missing the Nancy by a hair. And that is, they actually get the stage out. That is huge. That is an extra stage out. That's only giving this killer 7 stages instead of 8. All right, everyone, welcome back to Champions of the Fog. We're loading in for trial number 2 of the artist set between Hysteric and Meadow. And little did you all know, I was actually hiding someone in my back pocket this whole time. Tyro, say hello.
Hello, everybody. I am super excited to see this game. I mean, I'm a little upset I missed the first one because we had quite a game from what I could, see off in the distance. But this should be equally as exciting. The artist on Suffo Pit And I'm excited to see what the survivors are able to do in response to that win condition.
I would agree. It's not the easiest task, not the hardest task. I'd say it's about an average task. What they're up to is immediately Contra taking a tag into the back, running towards the middle. However, this team seems to want to aggressively tackle Ruin. However, Cuba Bamboozled. That was not Ruin. That was Undying. And now holding down the window. However, they don't have Bamboozle for this window, and actually holding straight W through that. Not scared of the Crow at all. Actually avoiding it and holding W once again, going towards the middle of the map. This first chase is going very much in the survivor's favor, just like we saw last time.
Yeah, Contra doing an amazing job just greeting that pallet, going for the window. The birds are not going to injure. Instead, they're just going to flock around Contra. And our killer is going to have to land a second shot, but Contra's doing a very good job pathing around the edge map. That's going to force an M1 and prolong the down, and that will be first down at 5 generators, but our survivors are toiling away on the other side of the map.
Yeah, they're sticking 3 separate generators, and I kind of like this, so Pain Res will hit one of them, but... Oh, that's actually really nasty. You can check 3 gens with your Crows in one sweep, and they will actually find Nancy on the far back gen. The gen setup is a little bit more interesting. I feel like there's definitely a 3 gen on main building side, 4 gen if you can include the one that's a little bit further away, but that is a tight 3 gen in the back side of that map, like right against the wall of the suffocation pit itself. And then you have that one up there. So a little bit of a similar situation as to last time. And I'm curious if they find Ruin, if cleansing Ruin early does them more of a service this time around. I'm curious. Okay, so I was actually wondering, to bounce off of you, would you have liked to have seen Ruin done early, or what would the argument be for not cleansing Ruin early the last game?
I do think cleansing Ruin early is probably a better option against Artist, because, I mean, look at this. Like, even if you're not, you know, getting off the gen, you're getting off the gen like a little bit to shake off these birds. And also for a rotation like this, where we see Furious just taking a tag and running straight for the unhook. This is going to be close, but that is going to wind up being a trade. And that is going to be, we're just going to take the pain res instead of getting on the tunnel train early. But at the same time, Contra's kind of zoned down here on the bottom side.
Just a little bit. So, okay. And that might have been the thinking too, is that it doesn't matter in the end. But I'm actually really shocked that they gave Claudette a tag that early. That seemed like it gave them the distance they needed. I'm surprised they didn't try and body block more and try and force second stage, because they didn't get second stage out of Contra. They waited 68 seconds for not a second stage to be secured, and that is not where you want to be. But like you said, they do have Contra zone down here. They have to deal with these Crows in just a second. Crows coming out, and that is going to be a down. Desperately trying to take a body block from Cheryl, but not going to be able to get it, and that is going to be a second stage coming in. Like you said, they already have the stage back here, and going to be chasing them away. No agitation, though, so they wouldn't catch up. But actually, I like this play. This is aggressive from the Artist, and this is exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, I think the survivors played that very well. Kizeka coming through to try to pressure that unhook, but also just abandoning it when the killer started parting the survivor down there. That just kind of left Contra in a near unhookable state unless he crawls next to a hook. And right now, you know, our killer's just going to be firing off Crows, trying to delay in order for Furious to reach second. And then I can probably suspect that Contra's going to be picked up right afterward.
Picked up by who is the question. Is it going to be the Artist or the survivors? Looks like they're taking their chances. What's your wiggle bar, buddy? Whether they get this hook or not, it's gonna be make or break. I think they actually get it by a sliver, which means they can come and interrupt this other unhook and harass it. However, Nancy is immediately there. We saw it in the wing, ready to get that unhook. But gonna be trying to take a BT tag. However,
oh goodness, this is dangerous.
Yeah, that's a gamble. Balance landing coming in, but I don't think it's a time. Oh, they didn't go for the swing.
A very nice use of the firecracker there. We are going to see the birds placed. A bit of an aggressive play there, but it does look like that they're going to be buying more time now. Furious doing a good job not going down to birds, not taking an M1 tag. Is just going to be running towards the bottom side of the map, which I'm a little bit curious about because we do still have 3 gens down here. But I guess we're going to set up for a hit tank from Kizeka. Kizeka is going to be dipping and going to the other side. And meanwhile, it does look like our killer wants to continue that tunnel out onto Furious, but might actually just abandon it because now they're pressuring this 3 gen on the bottom side.
True. And this is still a decent 3-gen setup. Obviously, Ruin is still up. They haven't identified where it is, though. And I spoke too soon. Caster's Curse is Cheryl will be chasing right next to it, and they will identify where this is. They are going to be harassing with the crows, but not able to get something as the vaults into a locker. Holding this check spot for their life, and ooh, they must be on good ping, because that would have hit me.
Yeah, Kuzeka played that phenomenally, just going to avoid getting down and going straight towards Shaq. That is going to be a flock of birds around Kuzeka now, but it does look like the killer might have Kuzeka where he wants him. And that will be a down here on the bottom side of the map, which is going to open up our killer to continue pressuring this 3-gen.
True. And since to be fair, the survivors had a really good potential comeback there, denying the massive amount of pressure that the killer mounted. But obviously their gen pressure has suffered as they are just now getting back around to these gens. And I imagine we're going to see a little bit of a repeat of what we saw earlier, where they're just going to harass. And like you said, now you're on this side of the map. You still got your 3-gen on this side where they've rotated to. And these two, like, having the hook between these two gens is brutal. And you can hill patrol the other one. So survivors are not out of the woods.
Yeah, and that ruin still being up, like our killer can just kind of send birds up to that top generator and get, I mean, even the little bit of regression that ruin is going to buy there is going to buy a lot of time for this hook to transition into a death potentially. Look at this. I mean, the ruin's just going to be ticking away at this, and it's not that much time, but that's all. That just adds precious seconds onto holding this hook.
Absolutely. And then if you do get tagged by crows, it adds even more. However, it is worth noting we are seeing 3 different gens being cranked away. It is down here in the 3-gen area working on this. I don't know if the artist has actually known about this yet. Nancy will be spreading over. Looks like they're going to be trying to either rotate in for the gen being pressured or maybe enforce an unhook. Looks like they will secure second.
As soon as second comes through, the artist is going to commit away. And then they're just kind of setting up in the area to see which one of them needs to come through for this save. But it's going to be Contra in chase at first. This is probably going to be a tag. And we have to hope that Lily was not in position to get this unhook, which means that it's going to have to be a trade at this point. But Contra's going to continue pressuring that other generator and try to pop it while this trade comes through. I think Lily's actually just trying to buy some time for Sprintburst to come back maybe. But now that the artist is over here, does not make that hit. That's going to be crucial time for them to come through and get that save on Kuzeka. And Kuzeka's going to get out of there. Meanwhile, Furious is going to be taking chase now as well and just running straight towards the top side. And I think the survivors are going to put themselves in a good spot here.
Right, potentially. Oh, but the reset point gets interrupted, though, which means that, yeah, Kuzeka's in a bit of a pickle here as they are being forced right back to where they were originally, this time with crows in hand. Yeah, I'm about to say, not much you can do. However, Nancy is here to harass just a little bit. I don't know what you can do.
Yeah, that was a crucial reset find, and I kind of wish that the survivors had went in a more out there position, maybe near the edge map even, just to get that reset going. Because I mean that find was so crucial. Now they're at the 3v1 state, and they still have this 3-gen. This generator over here by 9 is very completed, but it's going to be regressing thanks to that ruin that's still up. And our killer just has ample pressure to continue the onslaught down here.
Absolutely. That is finished. Game is set. 3 gens. One of them has to go. 3 survivors. All of them have to go. See what comes of it. Obviously, survivors are still going to try and make their way back here. Probably not going to get to the choke point just yet. They got it. That's the thing. The suffocation pit is the same as ARP. You just got to meander your way. Hide line of sight, hide line of sight. It takes you almost like a good minute to try and make your way past the choke point without getting seen. But survivors have really played patiently up to this point. However, worth noting too is that this killer has reached the number of hook stages for the tie condition. However, they are missing a fresh hook, so they do want to try and hold out and maybe not give them Nancy, as that is still a win condition for the survivors. But at this point, this is the pivotal moment. If they give one more stage, it's over, and Contra being found through the window. That light is going to get them all the way back up to the top of the map. Ruin has regressed that gen to nothing, and so I think this killer actually feels kind of comfortable just committing to this chase here.
Yeah, it does have the 3 birds up, and that's going to be Contra running into the range. Just barely shakes them off in time. Does have a pallet here, but is forced to go around the long side. It's going to be a close drop, and that will be a drop, but now we have to worry about the birds, and Contra is not able to shake those birds off, but
They
an
actually
amazing
dodge!
dodge. But at the same time, at what cost he was around
They
here.
won the
Oh, very
50!
good greed. Contra is chasing for his life right now, doing an amazing job going around this pallet, and is just winning these 50s over and over.
Oh.
But finally, our killer is going to get the crucial down and claim their victory.
That was one of the best chases I've seen in this area. Like, okay, Contra must play a lot of artists. The way they held those check spots and just greeted it, and even Contra was literally 30 seconds off of winning that game for their team. That was absolute MVP behavior right there with that chase. But regardless, really close result in the end, as these hook stages are very, very similar. But ultimately, that will be Hysteric clutching victory here in set number 1. This was a really good artist set.
Yeah. I mean, Artist is one of those killers that can create some very hype moments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we saw a good use of the macro play where it was very exciting, but also just the chases themselves were like really good.
Absolutely. One thing that is also really interesting and impressive to me is that this killer didn't bring Noah. Despite knowing what the win condition was, they decided, you know what, I'm gonna do this without Noah. So hats off to the killer for trying to go for that win con. It looks like they're switching up sides entirely, so they brought them away from that exit gate. I'm guessing that means that, yeah, Nancy actually stuck over to this exit gate, and so they will be getting a 2-man out. 8-stage UK for the artist, just enough to squeak by with victory. And all right, everyone, welcome back to Champions of the Fog. We're loading back in for trial number 3. It is the Father Campbell Chapel. It is a Singularity. And went towards Shaq, already setting up a couple biopods in the back. It's just a bit of an interesting corrupt. We see 2 on Carnival side, but 1, honestly, towards main building on the back side. Regardless, I got a question for you. Have you ever seen Singularity on the Father Campbell's Chapel, Tyro?
I actually have not. Mostly I see Singu on Dead Dog or Wreckers, one of those types of maps, but this is going to be very interesting because I do think this is a little bit of a harder map for killers, so.
It definitely has that set depending on the killer. Usually we see really good anti-loop killers being used here, as obviously you can get some really nasty filler tiles or potential spawns, as we saw earlier. Getting the stun onto the killer. They don't dodge it properly, though, and that will be a break, but they do get distance. This is the TNL. What's the setup here? Is it next to a window or not? If it is next to a window, I might actually cry. Oh, great EMP coming in, though. Killer looking around, not seeing where they are, though. Okay, it is not into a god window. It's literally into the front of the map, so, or in the front of the main. So, ooh, they do get another EMP. They're doing a good job splitting up the slipstream tags onto the survivors, making the EMP economy pretty even at the moment. They actually get the teleport. Oh my word!
Oh goodness. Yeah, that's going to be a tag onto Kuzeka, and Kuzeka's forced to run towards the top side of the map. There's only 1 more pallet that can be up here, as it was used earlier on the other side. A swing and a miss. Very good greed coming through from Kuzeka, knowing that the slipstream would have enabled the Singularity to just break that pallet. Kuzeka's doing a very good job of getting around over here to this window. This fantastic play so far, but that is going to be a vault. But I think on this loop, Zeka might be able to triple vault this. No, does actually get hit. Very crucial down for their killer now.
Indeed. Sloppy Butcher, well known at this point. And this is what a surprise. We saw a couple games where Sloppy Butcher wasn't used, and I think that like this is just such a good perk for them. Pain Res is coming in. We see the Shack gen being worked as well. We see at least there's 2 different gens being worked on at the moment. Ace will be off of theirs for a bit. Surprised they haven't actually got an EMP over here yet for the survivor, as they're going to be taking a tag momentarily. Getting a little bit too close to the sun as they tag and leave.
Yeah, Perk's getting tagged there. Just does not want to drop that pallet just yet, and that's going to be a Sloppy Butcher as well, which is going to stop any resets from happening. And Kuzeka is on the tunnel train now. going around this. I believe this is a 4-lane. Very good play. Very good for Kuzeka to not greed that pallet there, but is going to go down at the window.
They tried their best there. Obviously, there's only so much you have, and Nancy was possibly setting up for a flashlight save, but not going to end up getting it. Second stage coming in onto the Survivor. Still waiting on the first two gens to fire, and I imagine we'll see them fire momentarily as they have been in the back of the map. On Shack's side, working on that. Gens have no progress whatsoever, but they are going to set a couple pods up. They are expecting the game to start to consolidate this way. They do get attacked onto Ace. See, once again, the Soma family photo doing a little bit of work there. And, oh, no, they vaulted
no!
Oh, that was the worst possible
so
scenario.
Sad.
That is
the firecracker
brutal.
save not going to go through either.
And they possibly interrupt this gen with a pain res. Yeah, they interrupt that gen. That is a huge momentum swing for the killer. That honestly is just on the back of that's a bad mistake.
Yeah, and now Kuzeka is going to be forced to play the tunnel out chase. I don't think they're going to be able to get a reset in time. Just our killer player does find Kuzeka and going to limit it with that Soma family photo. And now there's only this one pallet in the 4-lane in order to make it towards the bottom side of the map. We do have a survivor trying to play around this. The EMP comes through, but it's not going to be enough. Kuzeka still slipstreamed. That's going to be a teleport as well. And then we're going to see a tag. That's 2 tags with Sloppy Butcher. And Kuzeka's still in the crosshairs of our killer. Played around that fantastically. Going to be dropping that pallet gem and going back over to another TNL over here. And that's going to be another EMP. So no power usage just yet. But our killer's going to choose to get Lily downed instead of Kuzeka and just take the hook.
I don't know if I think I don't know. Going down for the survivor is a play, but maybe they get Kuzeka towards. No, they don't get him to main building, but they are rotating around to the other side. This is where the generators are done. They are going to be making them take chase at a spot where they don't want to. They're going to be dropping the pallet preemptively, getting break, and also Ace will be here for a hit tank if they need. The question is,
oh no!
Oh, that was unfortunate for the survivor, and they will end up going down. Ace is there, but it's not going to have anything in hand to help them out, and that's going to be a tag. This is falling apart really badly for survivors, and yeah, but I'm saying just a little bit of cleanup duty. That'll be death.
Our killer. I don't even know what to call it. Sunglasses. Very fun name. But they're going to be claiming Kuzeka's life there on the meat hook and just continuing this onslaught here. Perks is injured, but they did manage to heal up Lily through that Sloppy Butcher. But at this point, we are in the 3v1 at 3 generators, and you still have a survivor now injured and deep wounded as well, which is going to slow things down. The teleport coming through, and the chase will commence. Very good positioning here for our killer. That's going to force the pallet drop. And now they're forced to play around it, but Perks kind of caught off guard of what the killer was going to do there. Going to be running towards this main building. Not quite going to get the body block there from Contra. Contra does get the EMP off, but it's not going to be enough. This is going to be a tag eventually. We're going to see a 50, and Contra, unfortunately, is going to lose that. And our killer is going to be in hot pursuit through the main building, but might just go for the pickup now.
Have I say the lines for the Singularity have opened up. A lot of them are just straight up winning, and that's what we're gonna see is this hook come in on the survivor, and that's not a lot of gen progress. Look at this, is looking to be a pretty brutal result coming in for Hysteric's killer. As he can come over here, interrupt this gen, mess with it a little bit. Not even bothering. There's like, no, that's not enough for me to deal with. I'm just gonna set up some more biopods, get my web a little bit thicker, and this survivors are gonna have to pull out some serious strats to try and pull them out of this one, because this is nightmare scenario. You have to get at least 2 more gens than to give your killer a shot.
Yeah, and now Contra's whereabouts are known, and our killer's just going to be continuously applying that infection, getting the deep wounds, which is going to slow down any hope of any progress down there. And Contra is the injured survivor trying to play safe away from the top gen spread, which our killer is very content to just kind of sit in between and pressure while just securing this hook.
Absolutely, and hook trade will be coming in, but body blocking the pallet, not letting anyone get to it, and they'll just continue the chase onto Ace. If they get a slipstream onto them, that will be the mending status effect. They will get it off, so no BT. Ace continuing to chase around the main building, checking out, making sure those survivors are well accounted for, and Ace just trying to take the chase as far away from the action as possible, but there's only so much access you have. They are quite silent heading back over to the TNL over here, but again, what much can you do? They do make it through the window, but this pallet still up? No, his pallet is gone, and this will be pick up onto Lily, but death incoming for Ace. They see the pickup, and they're trying to get a tag. Not able to get it before the EMP goes off, so they will be in mending now. I don't know, like, what can the survivors do here?
The only thing you really can do at this point is just split gens on opposite corners of the map, and you're going to have to hard stealth, which is going to be harder since they're injured. Either hard stealth or juice up, and that's going to be very difficult considering Contra is just in the killer's sights, does not even have to use the power, and is going to go down. And this looks like a 4K3 is all but assured at this point.
Yeah, if the killer is able to secure a 4K3, things end up looking very dire for Meadow. As I'm not sure, but actually checking the... I didn't think that Nancy came to this side of the map, so they might actually... No, they did. That is going to be Nancy heading back towards the shack. We see the scratch marks for it, and that will be, like you said, 4K3 all but confirmed at this point. Very, very impressive Singularity showing. As honestly, they had pressure almost the entire game and just did not let up.
Yeah, Singularity is such a high APM killer. I always used to joke that you have to have StarCraft APM to play this.
It's literally the analogy I draw. It's like trying to cast this, like trying to cast a StarCraft game from back in the day when StarCraft 2 came out, and they're just going crazy because the players are going like, you know, 300-400, sometimes even 500, like, you know, maybe it's just, oh my word. Yeah, no, I totally vibed to that, and definitely saw some play like that earlier on. When a Singularity is piloted by someone that knows the killer inside and out, it is difficult to keep up with the action.
Oh yeah. Speaking of being difficult to keep up with, our Contra is somewhere on the map. I guess our killer did actually manage to find them. Very decisive play coming through from our killer side, and I'm very excited to see what Hysteric's able to do on the survivor role up against Meadow's killer next match.
Absolutely. We'll have to just wait and see what it ends up being, but I mean, regardless, again, really, really well played, and not to discount Meadow, they're not out of it yet, but that is one heck of a win condition to try to meet, so leave it down to them to decide what the fate is as we take a short intermission here in just a moment. Thank you all so much for watching once again. Watching Champions of the Fog, round 5 of season. All right, everyone, welcome back to Champions of the Fog. We are loading back in. It was, in fact, a server crash, as confirmed by our lovely staff, and unfortunate, as honestly, Killer had a kind of a great start, and so hopefully they can bring that same energy and not feel too distraught about the result. And they did change things up a bit. We see a little bit of Undying Aura reading coming in onto the survivor back here. Gonna try and get a... Not quite able to get a read onto them as they had to hit the side of that tree. Aiming for the tree in the distance, trying to get one, and they will be able to get a slipstream onto their first survivor back here. Early slipstream before the EMPs are gonna be able to come in and help them out. Oh, there's actually multiple survivors back here. Oh, they actually do have an EMP already ready to go.
Yeah, I really like this from the survivors. I think that getting EMPs really quickly, typically just to shut down the killer's power, can be a very effective strategy, especially since the survivors, thanks to the server crashing, they do kind of know our killer's main game plan, you know, just kind of to play for these slugs. But that is going to be the tag and the pallet break. The Fung Min there not quite making it to where they can just drop the pallet safely. We are going to see the play around Shack, and Coral Blue number 2 doing a very good job of zoning, trying to get that slipstream. The vault not going to come in time, though, and that's going to be a very quick down. And kind of similar to how we saw last game, we are going to see our killer go away from the survivor and leave them slug rather than trying to claim a hook.
Does make a lot of sense. They have a very difficult win condition to try and achieve, and this is one of the better ways of trying to do it. They are getting some slipstreams passed around to the survivors, making sure they keep their EMPs on lockdown, getting a tag over the pallet, or sorry, getting a pallet break. They will be able to continue chase, but not opting to utilize their EMP just yet. Maybe waiting for a few more pallets or trying to get into a spot where they want to use it. Now Killer's gonna be pushed, trying to be pushing away. However, they do get attack onto Ace in the back. Trying to get a reset, trying to get a beat on where they went, and it looks like they went inside a shack, and I don't think they actually have a lock on that. First gen going down. Looks like they're heading back towards this area to try and get one of these survivors tagged. We do still have Sloppy. They're hiding in the... This is the only spot that they can't be seen in, and Sloppy will prevent this reset from coming through. See if they're able to get any more pressure up. Ending status effect onto Fengmin. They'll take the teleport here. Body block coming in from Ace, though, is really big.
Yeah, because of that, our killer was not able to swing through the pallet and get the break and the down. So very nice body block coming through. That is going to be an EMP as well, disabling that pod. And we are going to see the shack pallet getting thrown. And our survivors are playing these chases extremely well, just not letting up on the pressure. It's actually forcing our killer to go pressure this middle generator in the main building, but this is not an area that you really want to chase, although we are going to see a tag come through onto our Claudette, who's going to run straight towards the top side of the map. We do see the slipstream activating, and now we do have this carnival, but is it going to be enough? The lunge is not going to connect. Our Claudette's going to make the distance, making it to a pallet, not able to drop it though, and it's just going to go down.
Yeah, but Ace is going to be able to rotate over. They are going to actually get the EMP off. Not able to allow the teleport. That's going to regress a little bit. Yeah, this is going to be the generator finishing before the Singularity can come in and stop it. That is the tie condition met. Not able to get that through the window.
And notice how Ace just barely had balanced up. I mean, that just came in time for the play there. And, you know, now that is the tie condition, but the survivors are going to be able to go straight for a win condition as well. Now the Ace is buying all this time on the bottom side of the map.
Absolutely. Killers fighting for their life here, doing their best. That almost was a hit, as that was a mid vault. Getting the last second possible, though, on the fast fall, that might still be attack at the window. Not quite enough. Teleport coming in as they pull back.
Yeah, it looks like Fengmin is going to be playing this 4-lane now, vaulting the window, going inside the tile. That is going to be the slipstream teleport, kicking the survivor off that generator, but at the same time, does not look like they want to stick to it too badly. Going to be playing around this 4-lane. Good fake from the Feng, and they're going to make it straight back towards Shack and maybe even make this vault, but no, it's still blocked. That's going to be a tag. And now Fengmin is going to be running straight towards main building. And again, that is the last place you really want to chase as a killer. And because of that, it's going to be a break off towards Ace, who's kind of zoned towards the bottom side here.
I say, they're still trying their best to try and secure this tie condition, checking the other gens, using their biopods to get a look around, but not much to be done. Again, it's so difficult to try and multitask this.
Yeah, the survivors have it in a very good spot right now. Just not enough tags were had early game, unlike last game where our killer kind of had several tags and even some downs at the same time. And now the survivors are just very smartly splitting these gens on both sides of the map. Our killer's unable to get a pod, and they're just going to be able to pop these generators and get that win condition.
Yeah, I was about to say, the biopod is just not in the right position to be able to get that tag, and they're able to push this survivor away once again. Only once are injured at the moment, though, and things are slowly starting to slip away. Again, this win condition was so brutal to try and meet. Great fake coming in and doubling back at the perfect moment. Yeah, these survivors just playing this painstakingly well.
Yeah, that's going to be a vault through the shack window, continuing the chase here. We do have one more vault until the window blocks. That's going to be a tag here finally, but is it going to be enough? No, there is the last gen going to be claiming that win condition. And from here on out, we're just playing for best possible result, but it does look like Hysteric is able to claim the victory on this matchup.
Yep, Hysteric will be walking away 2-0 in round number 5 against Meadow. And, you know, not for lack of trying, just again, some really tough win cons to be met. Or Generators going down. As I think the killer still wants to try and go for the 4-man slug just to say that they can do it. So, you know, hats off to them for trying to get the best possible condition here. But, again, just hard to do sometimes. And especially when, like you said, the survivors know what the game plan was 100% once they got into the second game as we had to do the reset. So that is just the way it goes sometimes. Finding a chase with Nancy here at the 4 lane, going back towards Carnival side. Not a head-on, which actually reminds me, have you ever seen a survivor attempt a head-on when the killer's in overdrive?
Yeah, I have. It was me, and it didn't work out very well. It's a very interesting interaction, actually.
Oh my goodness, they read that perfectly despite the double vault coming in from the killer. Faking the teleport, but Light is going to give them distance into the main building. Some really good chases coming in from these survivors, knowing how to, just exactly what to do against this killer.
Yeah, they're playing this phenomenally, just abusing these windows, which windows Singularity is not the strongest against, and just dropping pallets at the right time, not giving too many tags through them, and just playing overall just well. This is probably going to be another down and the first hook of the game. But at this point, like, our survivors are just going to lead.
I think this might actually be Hope. No, it's not. I thought he was just going fast, and oh my goodness, perfect body block coming in from Ace. Yeah, and this will end up being a 4-man out possibly.
Yeah, our killer's unable to even get a pod on there to teleport, but our survivors are now set up perfectly for a body block to hit tank, except for the teleport coming through at a very strange angle, actually going to be getting our survivor out of here. But we do have a flashlight in play. This could still be a flashlight save depending on the angle that they do. There's no hill tech coming through. A firecracker, not enough.
They miss. Trying to take body blocks. They want this.
Yeah, they're gonna body block this. I don't know if they're gonna be able to make it in time.
I don't think they can.
Yeah, I think even with that hit tank, that's going to be a hook stage now. And now they're going to be forced out as well. But even so, 3 stages total for our killer. I mean, they had a rough win con and tried to play around it. And oftentimes when you try to play around something like that, it can kind of backfire on you.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say a lot of these blowout win conditions lead to blowout results. It's just kind of the way that it goes. And very solemn Singularity pose as we go to this end game, and that will be all there is. Right, everyone, back to Champions of the Fog. We're loading in for trial number 4. It's either the halfway point or the end of the line. We'll just have to wait and see as Killer's got a little bit of an uphill battle. That's actually a very interesting place. Have you ever seen a odd place there?
No, I mean, I'm not too used to Singularity on this map to begin with, but I mean, I'm all here for any unique pod placements. It's always very fun to see what Singularities are able to cook up. And right off the bat, we do have a chase onto our Nancy player, going to be going around the edge side of the map here. Just going to be running straight up towards that Carnival with a Lithe as well to just kind of gain distance and deprive our killer of getting any pods, which is very good in terms of chase length. But we are going to see Ace get tagged up inside the map and teleported on like almost immediately. Very good catch by our Singularity, and Ace, kind of due to the stagger of the fall, not going to make too much distance, is going to make it towards this pallet, but it's not going to be enough. With that lunge, it's going to be a down very quickly.
Not what I was expecting. That was a very good set of chases, especially when Nancy seemed to hold like, oh no, a really, really tough chase for him to deal with. But now, not going to be the case. Going to be going back, leaving them slug. I do like this play. I think this is what you've got to play into. You've got to play into the really tough win condition of like, I just got to slug, go for something here. And they will go for the chase onto Nancy. They do have Sloppy Butchers, so they are going to make these tags are going to be a lot harder to reset from. Nancy's going to run back up into the main portion of the map. Ruin has already been cleansed and out of the game. Corrupt has expired as they did get it down a second ago. not quite able to get a teleport onto Nancy. Nancy running around this tile, running to the top of the hill. If they got balance landing, they are going to be able to get to this window most likely. Not quite, and that is going to be hit through the window as the reset comes in onto Ace. So survivors are wasting a lot of time at the moment. No real gen progress to speak of that we can see. There's a little bit as this tile we left, but they do have a couple of survivors over here that they are corralling towards the shack side, and they do have a pretty tight gen setup. If this was a normal win condition, ooh, cheeky. I didn't think that was happening.
Yeah, that's not going to result in a tag, but and we do see an EMP come through to kind of reset the progress of that chase there. But our killer, Coral Blue #2, is putting up a fight, trying to get this slug happening, the slugging game happening. And Nancy is going to be picked up after quite a bit of time, but that's going to be a chase onto Ace now over here in the Carnival. Is going to just drop the pallet. The increased kick speed coming through for the Singularity. Going to be forced over here towards this side of the map where we do have a jungle gym. The swing and a hit through the pallet. And that's also going to break the pallet, removing that resource from Ace. And Ace is forced to play around the window now, going to have to win a 50, which it looks like they're able to do. But now the hit tank coming through as well. And this is going to be sloppy applied across the board almost, with only Claudette remaining as uninjured.
Absolutely. And I imagine the survivors are probably working on a gen as we speak, trying to chase them down into the carnival area. They're not down and out yet. This is very, very tense. We're still at 5 gens. The survivors are trying to make this not turn into a snowball. There's the teleport coming in onto Ace. Ace is going to go to the corner. Going to be forcing Locker. It does make a lot of sense. And we'll be seeing our first generator pop.
Oh. That arm extension looked crazy. I don't know if you saw that for like the 2 seconds.
This game's perfect. There's no bugs at all. It's spicy sometimes. It's fine. But
yeah.
We see that gen being worked all the way across the other side of the map. EMP coming in as well. And now this killer, tough ask to make. Again, they're not out. They can definitely try and apply some pressure here and there. But obviously forcing Locker was a very good play from the... And I think they might even be doubling this generator. Obviously, if they can get this generator to be the last one to pop, obviously that's tie condition. They can still try and make it work in set 3, but it's gonna have to hold this gen. And oh, they accidentally teleported the wrong to
twice. Oh.